The most powerful supercomputer ever built by human beings sits in Tennessee. It is called Frontier. It runs at 1.35 exaflops, which means it can perform more than a quintillion calculations every single second. It took billions of dollars to build, consumes enough electricity to power a small city, and it is currently one of the most sophisticated machines on planet Earth. In December 2024, Google's quantum chip called Willow completed a specific calculation in under 5 minutes. Scientists then asked how long the Frontier supercomputer would take to complete the exact same calculation using the best classical algorithms available. The answer was 10 septillion years. That is a 10 followed by 25 zeros. That number is roughly 725 trillion times longer than the entire age of the universe. And here's the part that nobody talks about when they report that number. The data center that houses Frontier, the infrastructure it runs on, the way it was designed, the way it was built, and every assumption that went into constructing it were all made in a world where that calculation was considered fundamentally impossible. What we are watching right now, across 2025 and into 2026, is not just a series of impressive announcements from Google, Microsoft, IBM, and NVIDIA. What we are watching is every data center built on classical computing assumptions being handed an expiration date. Stay with me, because the scale of what is actually happening right now is something most people have not yet processed. And the window to understand it before it reshapes the entire global computing infrastructure is closing fast. Let us start with what quantum computing actually is, and why the last 12 months changed everything. A regular computer, the one in your phone, the servers powering every website you visit, the machines running every AI model you have ever used, they all run on bits. A bit is either a 0 or a 1. That is the foundation of every digital system ever built. Everything you have ever done on a computer, every email, every video, every bank transaction, every AI response, comes down to enormous sequences of zeros and ones being processed at extraordinarily high speed. A quantum computer is different in a fundamental and not just incremental way. It uses qubits instead of bits. A qubit, through a principle of quantum mechanics called superposition, can exist as a 0 and a 1 simultaneously until it is observed or measured. And through another principle called entanglement, qubits can be linked so that the state of one instantly influences the state of another, regardless of physical distance. These two properties, superposition and entanglement, give quantum computers the ability to explore enormous numbers of possible solutions to a problem at the same time, rather than checking them one by one the way a classical computer does. For certain classes of problems, this advantage is not incremental. It is not 2 times faster or 10 times faster, or even 1,000,000 times faster. For specific types of calculations, it is so many orders of magnitude faster that the comparison between classical and quantum performance requires numbers that are literally incomprehensible. 10 septillion years versus 5 minutes is an example of that gap. You cannot meaningfully visualize 10 septillion years. You can only accept that it is a number so large that the comparison has essentially left the realm of computation and entered the realm of physics. The problem has always been that qubits are extraordinarily fragile. For years, quantum computing lived mostly in research labs, generating headlines but little real-world impact. The reason is simple and brutal. Qubits lose their quantum state through a process called decoherence. The slightest vibration, the tiniest temperature fluctuation, electromagnetic interference from surrounding equipment, even cosmic radiation, any of it can collapse the quantum state and destroy the computation. Quantum computers need to be cooled to temperatures near absolute zero, colder than outer space, just to maintain qubit stability. And even then, errors accumulate faster than useful computation can occur. This is why the phrase fault-tolerant quantum computing has been the holy grail of the field for 3 decades. A fault-tolerant quantum computer is one that can run reliably even as individual qubits make mistakes. It corrects its own errors in real time, faster than the errors can propagate. Until recently, nobody had achieved it. The error correction algorithms were understood theoretically. The problem was running them fast enough. You need a classical computer to monitor the quantum processor, detect errors, calculate corrections, and send them back before the quantum state is lost. The window for doing that is measured in microseconds. And until 2025, nobody had the interconnect fast enough to make it work at scale. Then everything changed at once. In December 2024, Google unveiled the Willow chip, 105 qubits. And Willow did something that nobody before it had managed to do. Willow reduced quantum error rates exponentially as more qubits were added, which solves a 30-year-old problem in quantum computing. This is the critical detail that matters most about Willow, even more than the 10 septillion year benchmark. In every quantum system built before Willow, adding more qubits made the error problem worse. More qubits meant more noise, more interference, more decoherence. The math of error correction said you needed hundreds or even thousands of physical qubits just to support one reliable logical qubit. And adding more physical qubits made the situation harder, not easier. Willow reduced errors exponentially as it scaled up, achieving a breakthrough in quantum error correction. For the first time in the history of quantum computing, adding more qubits made the system more reliable, not less. The error rate went down as the system grew. This is the fundamental shift. This is what changes the trajectory from theoretical promise to engineering execution. Once you have a system where more qubits equals fewer errors, scaling becomes a path forward rather than a dead end. Then in February 2025, Microsoft did something that the physics community had been debating was even possible. Microsoft unveiled Majorana 1, the world's first quantum processing unit powered by a topological core, designed to scale to 1 million qubits on a single chip. 1 million qubits on a single chip. To understand why that number is so significant, you need to know that the current state of the art in superconducting quantum computers involves hundreds of physical qubits. Microsoft is describing a chip architecture designed to reach 1 million. The breakthrough required developing an entirely new materials stack made of indium arsenide and aluminum, much of which Microsoft designed and fabricated atom by atom. The goal was to coax new quantum particles called Majoranas into existence and take advantage of their unique properties. Majorana particles are exotic quasi-particles that were theorized in 1937 by an Italian physicist named Ettore Majorana. They do not exist in nature. They can only be created inside a specific type of material called a topological superconductor at near absolute zero temperatures. Microsoft spent nearly 20 years figuring out how to make them exist at all. Microsoft created topological superconductivity, a new state of matter that previously existed only in theory, enabling topological qubits that are smaller, faster, and more stable. The reason topological qubits matter so much is error protection. Regular qubits store quantum information in a specific physical location. Topological qubits store quantum information in the mathematical relationships between Majorana particles at opposite ends of a nanowire. Because the information is encoded in the topology of the system rather than the state of a single physical location, it is inherently protected from local disturbances. In theory, a quantum computer made using Majorana particles can be completely free of the qubit errors that plague other designs. Not less prone to errors, free of them, hardware-level error protection built into the physics of the material itself. Microsoft says its topoconductors are a breakthrough of a similar magnitude to semiconductors, which made today's smartphones, computers, and electronics possible. If that claim holds up under the engineering challenges of scaling, and Microsoft has now published peer-reviewed work in Nature supporting the physics, the implications are staggering. Semiconductors made the modern world. If topoconductors do for quantum what semiconductors did for classical computing, the modern world gets redesigned again. Meanwhile, IBM in June 2025 released its most detailed quantum roadmap yet, and it contains specific dates and specific technical specifications that the company has staked its credibility on. IBM announced plans to build the world's first large-scale, fault-tolerant quantum computer, aiming to complete the system, called Quantum Starling, by 2029. The system will use 200 logical qubits to run 100 million quantum operations and serve as the foundation for a future platform, IBM Quantum BlueJ, designed to scale to 2,000 logical qubits and 1 billion operations. The word logical qubit is what matters here, not physical qubits. Logical qubits are error-corrected qubits, the stable, reliable unit that can actually be used for computation. Getting to 200 logical qubits requires managing thousands of physical qubits simultaneously. IBM's new architecture uses QLDPC error-correcting codes to reduce physical qubit overhead by up to 90%. That 90% reduction matters enormously because it means far fewer physical qubits are needed to support each logical qubit, making the engineering challenge of scaling massively more tractable. IBM's intermediate milestones are already in motion. Loon in 2025, Kookaburra in 2026, Cockatoo in 2027, Starling in 2029, BlueJ in 2033, each one building on the last. IBM has delivered on previous roadmap commitments and has a track record in quantum that no other company matches for consistency of execution. And they are not waiting for 2029 to be useful. IBM expects to achieve quantum advantage over classical computers on specific real problems by 2026. Then, in September 2025, Caltech researchers announced something that shifted what the hardware ceiling looked like entirely. Caltech researchers split a laser beam into 12,000 parts to trap 6,100 cesium atoms as qubits. These qubits stayed in superposition for 13 seconds, 10 times longer than previous arrays, and the researchers were even able to move the atoms around, 6,100 qubits in a single array. coherence times 10 times longer than before, and the ability to physically reposition qubits, which opens entirely new approaches to error correction and quantum circuit design. The neutral atom approach to quantum computing, which Caltech demonstrated at this scale, avoids the extreme cooling requirements of superconducting systems and instead uses lasers and electromagnetic fields to trap atoms in precise arrangements. And then NVIDIA entered the quantum field directly. In October 2025, NVIDIA announced NVQLink, the interconnect system that allows GPU supercomputers and quantum processors to be coupled into a single unified machine. The round-trip latency of NVQLink is less than 4 microseconds, fast enough to perform real-time quantum error correction, something that had never been achieved at scale before. 17 quantum hardware companies immediately committed to supporting it. 9 U.S. national laboratories, including Oak Ridge, Los Alamos, and MIT Lincoln Laboratory, signed on. By November 2025, more than a dozen supercomputing centers across Asia, Europe, and the U.S. adopted NVQLink. The first live demonstration, using NVIDIA's Grace Hopper superchip connected to Quantinuum's Helios quantum processor, achieved real-time scalable quantum error correction 32 times faster than required. Now take all of that and zoom out to understand what it means for data centers. S&P Global estimates that global investment in quantum technologies surpassed $55 billion in 2025, while market revenue is projected to rise from roughly $2.5 billion in 2025 to nearly $9 billion in 2026. According to a 451 research survey, 76% of respondents believe quantum computing will begin delivering material value within 5 years. The data center industry built trillions of dollars of infrastructure around a specific set of assumptions. Classical bits, von Neumann architecture, processors that run faster and faster on smaller and smaller transistors, cooling systems designed around heat generated by electron flow through silicon, network infrastructure built around the bandwidth requirements of classical computation. Every physical design decision in every data center operating today was made inside those assumptions. Quantum computers differ fundamentally from classical systems in their physical requirements. Some rely on cryogenic cooling near absolute zero, while others use lasers, photonics, or electromagnetic fields. These differences complicate integration into existing facilities. Superconducting quantum computers, which is what Google and IBM primarily build, need dilution refrigerators that cool qubits to mere thousandths of a degree above absolute zero. These are not incremental modifications to existing cooling infrastructure. They are entirely different engineering challenges. They require vibration isolation, electromagnetic shielding, specialized cryogenic piping, and power systems designed for stability rather than raw throughput. None of the cooling infrastructure in a classical data center is remotely compatible. Cooling, which currently makes up only 10 to 30% of the electronic load in a classical facility, is expected to flip the script and come to dominate quantum infrastructure. The machines that run the internet today are optimized for one thing: moving electrons through silicon as fast as possible while managing the heat that produces. The machines that will run the next generation of computing are optimized for maintaining quantum states that are so delicate that the wrong vibration from a nearby motor destroys the computation. A 2026 paper from Oak Ridge National Laboratory argued that scaling quantum will face bottlenecks, including limits on cooling and helium-3, an important material in limited supply required for reaching extremely cold temperatures, long before it hits architectural ones. Helium-3 is extraordinarily rare. It is a byproduct of nuclear weapons stockpiles and has no natural abundance on Earth. The dilution refrigerators that cool superconducting quantum computers require helium-3 to function. As the number of quantum systems scales, the supply chain for the cryogenic cooling materials needed to run them becomes a genuine geopolitical and industrial challenge that does not have an obvious solution. This is why the approach is being pursued by Microsoft with topological qubits and by neutral atom companies like Caltech, Quera, and Pascal matter so much beyond the headline numbers. If topological qubits can achieve hardware-level error protection, the quantum computer does not need as many physical qubits, which means smaller, cheaper, and less cryogenically demanding systems. If neutral atom approaches can achieve coherence times of 13 seconds at 6/100 qubit scales, they bring the cooling requirements down dramatically compared to superconducting systems. The race to quantum advantage is not just a race to more qubits. It is a race to qubits that can exist in practical computing environments. The sectors likely to see commercially meaningful quantum impact first are pharmaceutical and biotech for molecular simulation and drug discovery, financial services for portfolio optimization and Monte Carlo simulation, defense and national security for cryptography and sensing, and chemical and energy industries for catalyst design, battery materials, and carbon capture. Every one of those sectors is currently running enormous classical data center infrastructure. the drug company running molecular dynamics simulations on GPU clusters, the investment bank running risk calculations on high-performance computing farms, the government laboratory running materials science workloads on classical supercomputers. All of them are building infrastructure today on the assumption that classical computing, possibly enhanced by AI acceleration, is how they will solve these problems for the next decade or two. They are wrong. Not because quantum computers are ready to replace classical systems. They are not yet. They are wrong because the assumption that classical infrastructure has another decade of relevance before quantum reshapes the picture is the assumption that the last 12 months have made most dangerous. When IBM achieves quantum advantage on specific real problems in 2026, which they are publicly committed to, those problems will be ones that classical data centers cannot match. When IBM Quantum Starling comes online in 2029 with 200 logical qubits running 100 million operations, the categories of unsolvable problems it starts solving will include many that current data centers have been trying and failing to crack at enormous cost. The industry is pivoting from quantum supremacy demonstrations to measurable hybrid gains on real workloads. Inside leading supercomputing centers, teams are pairing quantum processors with GPU-based and CPU-based systems to tackle specific workloads, while governments worldwide intensify support for quantum hardware and supply chains. The transition is not going to be a sudden replacement of one computing paradigm by another. It is going to be what NVIDIA is building with NVQLink, hybrid systems, where quantum processors handle the workloads they are uniquely suited for, while classical GPUs handle everything else. The data centers of the near future will be fundamentally different physical plants, with cryogenic systems alongside GPU farms, connected by high-speed quantum classical interconnects, running software that distributes workloads across both types of hardware automatically. The Quantum Data Center Alliance, established in 2025, is dedicated to building data center-scale quantum computers capable of tackling the world's most urgent problems, requiring cross-industry collaboration across every layer of the computing stack, including quantum processors, interconnects, entanglement networks, middleware, system integration, software, algorithms, and applications. Every layer of the computing stack, not one or two components. Every single layer, from the physical materials used to build qubits all the way up to the user-facing applications that will run on them. The infrastructure transformation required is total, not partial. It is not a software update. It is a ground-up redesign of what computing infrastructure looks like. The data centers being built today, the massive facilities consuming hundreds of megawatts of power to run GPU clusters for AI, are not going to become obsolete overnight. But they are being built for a world that ends within this decade. By 2029, IBM Quantum Starling will be operational and running fault-tolerant quantum computation at a scale that classical systems cannot match for specific problem classes. By 2030, NVIDIA's NVQLink ecosystem will have matured to the point where hybrid quantum GPU data centers are not experimental but operational. The 76% of technology decision makers who believe quantum will deliver material value within 5 years are not optimists. They are reading roadmaps. The Frontier supercomputer took 10 septillion years and 5 minutes to build the case for why the facility housing it will need to be fundamentally reconceived before the end of this decade. Not because Frontier is not impressive, it is the most powerful classical supercomputer ever built. But impressive is not the same as future-proof. And the future that quantum computing is building right now in labs at Google, Microsoft, IBM, Caltech, Quantinuum, and a dozen other places is one that makes the assumptions behind Frontier and every data center built like it not wrong, but incomplete. Incomplete in ways that are about to become very expensive. The question is no longer whether quantum will transform computing. That question was settled in 2025. The question is whether the organizations building data center infrastructure today understand that they are building for a transition, not an endpoint, and whether they will start designing for the world that is coming before the world that exists makes the decision for them.